we're going to be talking about Willie. Oh man, Willie. I remember growing up with him. Some funny times happened there, but today I'm only going to be telling you two, so here's my first one. I'm going to be telling you about when he was a baby. You see, Willie has kind of been the wild one ever since he was born. When he was only about 22 months old, he was already getting in trouble. You see, a camp meeting was starting in the nearby town around, and Ellen had some people staying with her. So, John Henry and, Edson and their caretaker were cleaning the house and, getting everything ready for the people to come. And you know where they found Willie? Head first in a dirty, cold bucket of water. So as Willie was taking his dip, they found him and they went in, picked him up, and the caretaker went and found Ellen and yelled, "Willie's drowning! Willie's drowning!" So Ellen asked, "Is it hot or cold water?" And the caretaker says, "Oh, it's cold water, it's cold water." So Ellen decides she's gonna get him and roll him on the ground like a little piece of bread. So he's rolling him and rolling him, and a neighbor comes by and tells her husband, "You need to take that baby away from the lady." And her husband says, "Let the mother have her child." Good man right there, good man. And God decided to let Willie live. For all we know, there was no brain damage. So I've got another story for you guys. This one is when he's a little bit older. Now, Willie's about 4 or 5 years old and they're putting out wallpaper. And you see, we put out wallpaper so it covers the door. And his mother told him, "Don't touch the wallpaper because it's wet." And guess what Willie wants to do? What every little kid wants to do when they're told not to do something. He wants to touch the wallpaper. So Willie sneaks over and he's about to touch it, and they're like, "Don't touch it." So he doesn't touch it. He doesn't touch it the first time, doesn't touch it the second time, waits a few minutes until they leave and they're going out and doing something else. And Willie gets closer to the wallpaper, closer, and he touches it. And it feels so nice because it's new, and he's like, "Oh, this is cool, I want to touch it so nicely." And he doesn't really know why he wants to touch it. He just wants to touch it. But what he didn't know was that the door to the basement, they didn't have this door on it. So he started touching it, and guess what he did? He fell right down. Sadly, he was not hurt. But when they did find him, he did say, "My hands are clean." And let's just say he really needed a whooping.
So what we have here is a cistern, and this is what the Whites decided to build because they got tired of going too far to get water. And this cistern has a very special story because it involves Willie. And so one day when the Whites decided they wanted the cistern, they were building it, and the men were building it. And Willie was kind of bored, so he took his horse rocking chair and started rocking as the men were working. But as the men were going deeper and deeper into the earth, Willie couldn't see them more, so he'd get closer and closer to the hole. And so the hole was pretty deep, and Willie was really close to the cistern, and he was looking down. But the men decided to go out for lunch. And so when they were eating lunch, Willie was still here, rocking his little horse, pretending he's a little cowboy. And so he was rocking back and forth. And then when the men were eating, they hear this awful childish scream. And so they come running over, and James runs over and he looks down the hole and he sees his son. Of course it had to be Willie. And so he puts a board on top, he swings down there, saves him, and he brings him back up. And luckily, Willie didn't break any bones, but let's just say he needed a whooping.
Willie. He still never learned his lesson. One time, the Whites were having company, so they put the boys upstairs to sleep, and they told him to not come down. Willie, though, he didn't listen. He wanted to sing. So, he came right on down those stairs and joined the guests in singing. So his dad had to bring him back upstairs and said, "Don't do that again, you'll get a whooping." Second time he came down and did it again. He started singing again with the guests. And then his dad took him back upstairs. He said, last warning, you come down one more time, you're getting a whooping. So, put him back upstairs. His dad came back down. But then a third time, Willie came down here and started singing. So his dad took him out back, gave him a whooping, and he remembers looking at the moon. Yeah.
So one day, Willie and his friends were outside just messing around, and then they were walking, and then they came upon this school, and they were wondering if the school was open. And so they tried for the door, and to their surprise, it was open. And so they came inside, started messing around, and then Willie got this bright idea to write this lovely poem about his teacher. And this is what he wrote. He wrote, "The devil flew from east to west and north to south, with our teacher in his mouth. When he found she was a fool, he dropped her off to teach our school." And so when he finished that, they left, and the teacher came back and saw this. She was kind of upset, I would guess. But sadly for Willie, the teacher knew his handwriting. And so when the teacher told his dad, he sure did get a whooping.
One time, when they were at camp meeting, Ellen White was sick, so the first day she was not able to go to the meetings. The second day she got up, and it was like a 1-mile journey, and she felt better. She felt good enough to go. So she starts going, and eventually she comes across a barn and stuff with all the carriages and the horses and all that kinds of stuff, and she's like, she was like, I just found the perfect thing. I could get a free ride there. So she goes to get the stuff, and the equipment is too high on the wall. She can't reach it. So she goes, better start walking. So she continues on walking down the road, and then eventually she hears something in the fog, and she didn't know what it was. So she just kept walking. And then eventually, coming out of the fog, here comes Willie, pulling a 2-wheeled cart. And he asks his mom to get in, and she was like, "Willie, you look like a fool." But she got in anyways, and he pulled her all the way down to the meeting house where they were having their camp meeting. Well, I guess today we learned that a whooping isn't going to hurt you. If anything, it's just going to put you on the right path towards Jesus.
Well, what I learned from Willie's life was that even though he was mischievous and everything, he didn't get hurt. And he didn't get any internal damage, because God had a purpose for him in his life. And I guess that purpose was to be there for his mom, because when James died, she basically had no more husband. And I guess that's kind of hard after you're married for a long time to lose your best friend. And so when James was gone, Willie was always there for his mom. And that makes me think that when I grow up, and if my dad did die, I wanted to be there for my mom. So that's what I learned.
I think we all just kind of learned that no matter how many things you do and the mistakes you make in life, God always has a plan for you. You may not think it's what you want it to be, but God has a plan, so we just need to follow it. That's it. Ah!